Oh, yes. This is the Hardcore Marketing Show. I'm Casey Cheshire, your host for this epic journey. And today's show, sponsored by Cheshire Impact, on a mission to help people maximize their use of Pardot and Salesforce. CheshireImpact.com. Bam. There it is. I hit record. And dude, we are like live. We're cranking. We're on this thing. I can't wait to introduce you to everyone. Guys, this guy is a marketing motivator, a disruptor, tells it how it is on LinkedIn, as how I just keep seeing him on there, just ranting about stuff. People are thanking him. I'm thanking him. Like, great point, man. It's one of those people, the kind of people you need to follow, right? Where you don't have time to necessarily research a million things. You follow this guy, especially on LinkedIn, and you're going to be in the know, in the loop on what's going on. He's in terms of marketing, big into the field marketing, the cross-channel side of the marketing strategy. Also a sports innovator, co-founded an adult baseball league, which we will talk about as well. Head of field marketing at Clary, Nick Bennett. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm pumped.
Dude, it's an honor for me. You're like a LinkedIn celebrity. What do you have, like 90 million followers now on there?
I wish one day.
One day soon, maybe after this podcast, we'll get you
exactly
the other 89 million you need to get there. So, hey, man, this is like our marketing leadership disruption series, all about crushing BS. So I want to pass you something over here. It's kind of heavy, but I know you can handle it because of, the baseball. All right, here you go. Ugh. All right, you got it?
I got it.
Got it? Okay,
Yep.
here you go. Take a swing. Take like a home run hitting swing at some kind of marketing myth, bogus strategy, misconception. Set the record straight once and for all.
Yeah. That's that's a good question because there's a lot of them for me.
I know. Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is, and this kind of came up recently, that sales are the best marketers out there. And it's funny because I've had a few salespeople tell me this recently, that like, oh, marketing's not hard. Anyone could do it. Like, do you really think you can do a full funnel ABM program and strategy and come up with all of that and work cross-functionally? Like, I think everyone is a marketer, but like, we're not here to work in silos. Like, everyone is good at what they do. Like, stay in your lane and just do what you're good at is something that I think is important. And it just makes me laugh because it's like, I always say, oh, sales thinks they're the best at this. Like, I don't go around, or you don't hear marketers going around saying they're the best salespeople. I mean, maybe.
You're not?
But
are you good at sales? You're not good at sales?
Honestly, I am pretty good at sales.
I'm pretty good at sales too, man. I don't know.
Sales.
I'd throw down with sales. Would you throw down with sales?
I would. Yeah. But I think that's just a big thing. I think it all comes back to like sales and marketing alignment. Like, if everyone's going their own way, nothing's ever going to work. And like, I've worked for some companies where it's like sales and marketing alignment. Like, what is that? Like, there was no sales and marketing alignment. And like, that bothers me to like the nth degree, because it's like, if you work for a revenue organization, it's sales is a team sport. Like, you have sales, you have marketing, you have CS, you have basically everyone rowing in the same boat that are trying to achieve a revenue number. And it's like, if you're working in silos, you're never going to get anywhere. And it's just like, it bothers me when I talk to other marketers that are like, oh, I don't even talk to my sales team. Like, they're doing their thing and I'm doing my thing. And I'm just like, how are you guys even driving any revenue? And which kind of leads me to my next point, because sometimes marketers only care about MQLs.
Well, hold on a second. We got a whole, we'll destroy the MQ in a second, but
Okay.
You said a couple really cool things that I was writing down here. So this is clearly false, that like sales just can't pick up. They're not on the walk-on varsity squad here. They can't just pick up, like, sometimes marketers don't even know what that stuff is, let alone someone in sales. But you mentioned the whole idea of like, is everyone a marketer? And I wonder about that. Is everyone a marketer, or is the idea that like customer experience is everyone's bag, or what do you think?
I think everyone is deep down a marketer, because it's like, you're always marketing yourself, whether it's your personal brand, whether you're marketing yourself for the brand, for the company that you work for, or even like, maybe it's in activity that you do outside of work. Maybe you play sports, you're marketing yourself to that league that you play in, and you want to be the best that you can be.
Right. Tied to that was, you had said like, stay in your lane. A lot of people are like told to stay in their lanes. And you know what's interesting? Like, when I think about lanes, it's kind of easier to stay in your own lane. right? Maybe not as successful, especially in marketing,
Right.
but there's some focus to that. Like I do accounting. All I do is accounting. I do
Yeah.
like, I'm just going to work on my queue, or if I'm like SDR or something, I'm just sales. I'm just going to work on my lead queue or something and don't care what
Right.
your programs are. If I hear something happening on the other side of the company, that's
Yeah.
cool. But like I am focused. So there's a benefit to focus. But I think you brought up a point that in marketing, we're kind I don't say not focused, but we're like, we look at the whole journey, more than
Right.
say anyone else in the organization other than like the CEO maybe.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's so true. And I think marketing in general is the more modern marketer is turning into caring more about revenue in the full buyer's journey. I think
Right.
even a couple of years ago, some marketers only cared about, hey, like let's just get people into the top of the funnel, or what can we do
Their
to
silo.
convert.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I think it is shifting. And I think that like revenue organizations in general, the more that you see that pop up, like that will only support, this full cycle of marketers that are out there.
Yeah. Makes sense. Here's a question for you, because you brought this thing up. When we do talk about sales and marketing alignment, I feel like this is you just mentioned this. Marketing is like growing up. We're going, okay, it's really about revenue, guys. I know we're going to talk about MQLs.
Yeah.
It's really about revenue. I need to like get beyond my silo. And so marketers, God bless us all, we're able to painfully, or however we need to do it, get out of our own silo to look at what's the end goal. And that for sure involves sales. I don't know if sales is doing the same thing. I get the feeling sometimes sales just stays in their silo and they're like, thanks marketing. Thanks for
Yeah.
thinking about me. But it's not like but I guess the better thing would be if they're thinking about what we do a little bit. I mean, do your job, but like, let's collaborate truly, not just like we're serving you, but you're just in your silo.
Yeah, that's true. And I think, if you look at like a company, if they have like more of a commercial sales team and an enterprise sales team, I feel like the enterprise sales reps are used to doing things a certain way, especially the ones
Interesting.
that have been like long tenured. Whereas like some of the commercial sales reps, they're a bit younger. They're a bit more like they just want to do the best that they can, and they do care more about marketing. But I mean, I think it also varies company to company. I mean,
True.
Clary, the sales team does care a lot about marketing, and they do want to stay informed. They do want to play a big part in it. But I've also worked for companies where it's like sales stays in their lane, and like they're just like, oh, whatever marketing gives us is fine. But like at the end of the day, I still need to go out and close business, and I'm not going to like have anyone hold me back or help
Right.
me.
What does that look like? So for someone who's in a company and they're not sure which one they fall under, do they fall under a Clary or the other, or they don't care? What does it look like when sales actually cares about what marketing is doing?
So I think if sales actually cares, you're going to see more of that revenue organization, like a true like revenue commit from like a marketing team, and just working towards the same goal. Like everyone wants to achieve whatever the revenue number is, and like sales will actually commit to helping with programs. Like take ABM for example, like sales will fully commit to wanting to make that successful if they can see the true value in it. And I think it comes back to sales and marketing alignment. Like if that's there and it starts from the top down, like CRO, CMO, and then funnels down, like it has to start there and then be pushed down to have kind of like that environment where
Right.
everyone thrives off of it.
And you know what? Like talk is cheap. So it sounds like not only are they committing, but they're doing stuff that makes you feel really confident that sales gives a shit, right? So
Right.
what kind of actions do you see sales taking? They're committing fully to the ABM approach, but what kind of things do you see them do? Because it's almost like, we measure sales on actions, they measure themselves. What kind of things do you see them doing? And you're like, oh, they care. It's like, I brought you some flowers. I care, like what kind of things do sales do that, and this would help other people too understand like, oh, does my sales team care or not? It would be like a starting point.
Right, exactly. I think a big piece of it is like following through with the leads that come from any type of marketing campaign. Sometimes like they'll just rely on their SDR team, but the sales teams that truly care are going to be the ones that are going to be like, hey, I'll follow up with this person, or like something pops in from an ebook download, like they're on it. Like for example, in Clary, we have an inbound Slack channel. Anything that comes in inbound, the whole sales team is on there. They can basically see, and you can see which reps actually care because they're like commenting on an inbound thread that says on it immediately, like 2 seconds after it comes
Wow.
in. Right. And like, they also are tagging their SDR like counterpart on it, saying, hey, let's craft a message together to get in this, because marketing did such a good job of like creating this. And like, whether it's collateral, whether it's content, whether it's, an event or like a webinar, like I've seen the sales team truly care about what's being put out there, and not only truly care, but also say thank you for doing this, because it's like at the end of the day, sales is my customer. I want to see them
Right.
achieve their numbers, and like to be able to just have them say thank you for helping them do that means a lot to me, because they could just be like, oh, whatever, this is marketing's job. But
Yeah.
going that extra step definitely shows value.
Yeah. When sales is happy, it's great, man. Have
Yeah.
you ever taken you out to lunch or something like that where they're just like,
They,
let's
they,
go?
they
Even
definitely have.
crazier. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I've gotten some crazy things, a lot of nice booze as well,
I
for
was going to
helping
say,
close deals. Yeah.
yeah, if they're inviting you out for dinner or something else, and it's like, when you get back to your marketing cave at like 3 a.m., you're like, I just hung out with sales for the whole night. That was pretty cool.
Yeah,
They do have
definitely.
fun, man. They took me out for sushi. That was my thing. That was always my like, hey, if sales takes you out for lunch and they're like, we're buying,
Yeah,
you did something right. You know,
exactly. That's so true.
man, the inbound Slack channel, and to hear that people are like pouncing on those leads, it just
Yeah.
shows that one, you're driving good stuff, because they wouldn't do that if it wasn't, and then two, it's like you've unleashed them, you've activated sales, just like we talk about activating content. It's like you've activated your sales team, and now they are just they're pouncing on stuff. And when you get them doing that, it's so intense. Like if you get the hunter ready to hunt,
Yep.
they're like on fire. What kind of things do you and your team do on the marketing side to activate that sales team, to get them to where they are hungry like that?
It's just kind of showing, like, we try to do any meetings, like sales and marketing are in it together. Like
Yeah.
when we just finished the quarter last week, and we do these things called SOE calls. And it's basically kind of like just an end of the quarter, see where we are. And so marketing is invited to those calls as well. Marketing's invited, to the QBRs. It's like, they truly want that alignment, and like just the cohesiveness of like being able to kind of get them, like get sales and marketing together to kind of create that bond, which you don't see everywhere. And like just being able to spend time with sales and like understanding like how to walk in their shoes, is important, because as a marketer, it helps you kind of reflect, of like look back and say, okay, I know how they operate. Like
Yeah.
I want to help them. And just like being able to like, we're just on so many calls together, and like we're on so many like Slack groups together, and it's just like it really helps build that bond.
Yeah. Quality time, right?
Yeah.
It's one of the love languages. You just got to get quality time with people.
Exactly.
And I could see that. Yeah, if they're attending, it makes sense. Attend the end of week calls, end of quarter calls, the QBRs, just being in the same meeting at the same time, even if you're just observing.
Right.
Then you're hanging out, you're going to dinner afterward, you're kind of being able to socialize. If you like each other, I could see that really helping, because then you're like, you send me a lead, I'm gonna call it, man. I know you're doing your thing, and I know you care
Exactly.
about me. I care about you. Like, this is cool. It's like, that jerk over there. Marketing doesn't give a crap about anybody but themselves. I'm not going to call their leads. I'm going
Right.
to chat my SDR team. But like, it's interesting how sometimes it's just the basic relationships that can build that stuff.
So true. Yeah, absolutely.
Man, maybe some Jello shots too. I don't know.
Definitely.
Well, all this sounds really good. It sounds like, because I know you were alluding to wanting to smash the idea of the MQ as well. What are you sending over that makes them so happy to respond? And what are you not sending over? Like, is MQL ever enter into that vocabulary, or what happens?
Yeah, so it actually is. So we still do use an MQL, but we don't specifically measure on it.
Okay.
And we just use it from kind of a lead scoring perspective. But to us, what matters way more is pipeline. So pipeline source, pipeline influence. What does, the like, how does the ABM makeup of like what we have play into all of this as well?
Yeah.
And then we look at like, the closed one business as well, which is important. And it's all things that we aligned with sales on what was important to them. And that's kind of where we came from. And, marketers are like, well, we did our MQL number, how come sales isn't closing this business? And,
Mm-hmm.
just because marketing thinks an MQL is something amazing, sales could still think it's trash. It all comes down to, you could make whatever lead score and like, it could get passed on as an MQL. But it's just like pipeline is what matters at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day.
Yeah, totally, man. It's like you could put lipstick. I mean, the whole lipstick on a pig thing. I don't even know where that came from. I'll probably have to Google it next time you see something smart. Lipstick. Hey, it's like you need a little producer. Hey, let's look that up while I'm talking, right? Like Joe Rogan style. I have no idea, but like you can decorate, wrap these leads in all sorts of decorations, put
Yeah.
stickers on them. Like my kids put stickers on everything. But if it's a terrible lead, it's a terrible lead. And it's almost
So
like the more stickers you put on it and the more lipstick or whatever you put on it, like the worse it is, because you've claimed this is an MQL. You've claimed this is like the one thing you need to call, has a score of 10,000. Please
yeah.
call it. And it's terrible. It makes you look so bad on the marketing side. Like you don't know what you're talking about.
Right, exactly. And then
Yeah.
it hurts your relationship with sales. Like you work so hard to build that up. This is how you destroy a relationship, passing over shitty leads.
Talk more about that, because we talked about activating the sales team. Like, it sounds like that deactivates them, is sending them shitty leads. Any other thing, or maybe that's just the key thing, but what kind of things will demotivate and deactivate your team?
I think just, making like obviously passing terrible leads over, but also not informing them of what campaigns are actually running. Like they're getting all these leads and like, there's so many tools out there that are saying, oh, I'm getting all these marketing actions, but I don't know what this is. No one told me what was going on. And like, maybe it was an ebook download. Maybe it was, they attended a webinar, but it's like, if they were like, if I actually knew what was happening, then it would be way easier on me on how I know, like how I need to follow up with this. And I think it comes back to basically like, when I think of failed marketing, it's just like, you're the strategic advisor to that sales team. Like they should know every single thing that is happening across the marketing organization. And like, you're that point person.
Yeah. Yeah. Play point. Um, okay. All right. Measuring on pipeline, not on MQLs. How
Definitely.
do you measure the pipeline? How do you measure the fact that you did anything? Or is it really just all sales' fault? They sold all these great things. Their pipeline, the sold pipeline comes from them, and the unsold pipeline comes from you. Like, how do you differentiate?
Yeah. So, I mean, we definitely use a few tools.
Okay.
We use Salesforce and we use Visible as well. That will kind of help with like the reporting and attribution standpoint of it. But it's just like, before that, just Salesforce reports, like making sure everything's tied to a campaign and making sure that
Right.
it all flows properly, making sure that the lead scoring is in there properly as well. And that's kind of, that's what I'm gold on at the end of the day is pipeline sourced and influence. And we kind of think of influence as like any touch point within a buyer's journey versus source of something, just like a first touch point.
Got it. So you're tracking the first and you're tracking all the other touches across the board. That makes sense.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, because otherwise, I mean, I see so many people just track the touches across the board, and then where do you go get more of these? I don't know. Like, what was the first touch? Cool. Go there to get more of these things and then influence them.
Exactly.
That's cool. So your responsibility is the sourced and the influence in a nice little combination of the two.
Exactly.
Awesome. You've got Visible. Do you have Marketo too?
We do. Yep. We
I
use
was gonna say, because
Marketo
they
as well.
bought them. So it's interesting
Exactly.
you have
Yep.
Salesforce. They're like these dueling platforms that are they annoying you yet, trying to get your business to one platform to the other yet?
Not really, honestly. And
Good,
like,
good.
yeah, it's been good.
That's awesome. How does ABM fit into that?
Yeah, so I think, being able to have like a full funnel ABM strategy is important. It's like, so the way that we look at ABM is like, we worked with sales to basically say, okay, what are your top accounts? And like, so they pick their top accounts. We've gone through like a couple of like, I don't want to say like, we went through a couple relist of basically going through top accounts. But we have
Okay.
I think there's about 500 and something on there, and like that's basically what we target for everything. Like that's when we're releasing webinars, when we're releasing basically anything, like those are the first people that we're going to, and we're doing a ton of like localized ads for them. And we use 6sense basically from an intent data perspective to
Yeah.
basically get a lot of that information. And so like our demand gen team kind of houses and like runs all of that.
Yeah.
But we use that reporting to basically help us figure out, what's the path forward to a lot of these accounts. And it ties nicely into Salesforce as well. So, the rep can even go in and see like, from a lead perspective, what's important from like their intent score, like how, where are they at from like a lettering score of like to purchase. And it's been really helpful to plan campaigns around that.
Wow, you've really supported the sales team with all the technology around it. That's
Definitely.
cool. Giving them the inside 6sense. Do you know Latney? Have you
So I haven't used that, no.
No, Latney, she's the CMO of
Oh,
6sense.
sorry. Yes.
Okay, cool. Because if not, I'll connect you because she's freaking fantastic.
Yeah, I am connected to her.
That's awesome. I'm sure you could connect me to people. I think you're probably the more connected LinkedIn person than I am. Quick side on that. Do you auto accept everybody?
So I don't. Well, I used to, and I was just like, I actually switched to a follow button versus a connect button just because I was getting like so many random people, and I was just like, I'm only connecting with the people that like fall into like my target market
Oh
basically. And like
yeah.
anyone else can follow me, just because it's so much easier than trying to like auto connect with everyone, and then like they pitch me immediately 2 seconds after I connect with them.
Man,
And
it's
it's a
gross.
hard delete for me as soon as that happens.
I block those people with a vengeance. That's a
Exactly.
great idea though, switching to a follow button.
Yeah,
And then people that really do want to connect and have to go self-select that. And I
exactly.
really wish more people would put a note in there when they connect. I know sometimes the app doesn't let you do that. It just
Yep.
sends it and you're like, no, I want to say something. But
It's
yeah, it's so important.
definitely.
Um, Tell me more about the ABM side. Have you seen anyone go astray with this? Like doing it right, doing it wrong? It sounds like you've really activated your sales team. Um, Talk to me about how ABM fits into this whole thing.
Yeah, so I mean, honestly, it fits really well between like sales, our SDR team, and then like our marketing team. So like basically, like we've run programs around specific like top 100 ABM counts, and like we do certain things around that specifically. And like our SDR team is amazing at like the outreach that they do and like the sequences that they put together. And we do a ton of personalized outreach through like using like Sendoso and around like our ABM accounts. And it's just been like huge in the amount of ABM accounts that like we've been able to get a hold of that like the
Wow.
rep like never could get a hold of before. And you know it's just getting the at bats to the sales team, and like these are their key accounts. Like we'll do what we can to be able to get in there, but at the end of the day it's up to them to take that at bat and knock it out of the park.
Right. How do you line that up? Because sometimes you don't know too much about them beforehand, or they don't know you, and it's like you don't want to be it's like just because you focused on them, but now you don't want to be the creepy spammer like we just talked about on
Right.
LinkedIn. So
Yeah.
how do you get sales those at bats?
So we definitely try to work with sales and get any intel that we can. And we
Okay.
use a lot of that intel to figure out what their pain points are. What, maybe we actually leverage our board a good amount to get into accounts, and specifically ABM accounts, because they have so many of those connections.
Yeah.
And like, if we can say, okay, our board member or this private equity firm that basically invested in us, like they want you to use Clary as part of like their portfolio. And it's like, just leveraging those connections as well helps kind of build it, and then delivering, personalized content that's important to pain that they're experiencing. And I mean, if you think about it, like during COVID, forecasting and pipeline visibility is more important than ever. Like going to a board and be like, well, I may hit the forecast for the quarter. I don't know. Like we're just using Excel spreadsheets. Like
Right.
yeah,
And for the record, you can't say that to a board.
right, exactly.
That's how you get fired.
Yeah,
Yeah. No CEO can survive a conversation with the board saying, not really sure about this quarter. Nope. No idea.
Exactly.
50-50, flip a coin, anybody? They're like, cool. We're going to post on LinkedIn for our CEO tomorrow. Okay. Sweet. Sweet, man. Well, what do you think the future, what, and you're connected to so many people, you're seeing so many different things happening. You've got a lot of great tech. What kind of stuff do you see coming around the bend in the future that maybe we should keep our eye on or watch out for, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I just think that like, more AI and like machine type learning, like technology is going to be coming, and like that's going to be important to leverage, just because, as we get into deeper into COVID specifically, like, it's going to be, budgets are going to be freezing. Like, how do you get people to actually say like, we need to purchase your technology when like budgets are frozen, and like just more technology around like that, like what's important to them, like what do
Yeah.
they care about, and like just leveraging the relationship, because at the end of the day people buy from people, and you don't want to sound like a robot, but
Right.
you need to remember that like people buy from people at the end of the day, and you need to be empathetic to the times, and like you need to just care about the person on the other side, and maybe do some things that like maybe you can't measure in marketing but that will move the needle.
Mic drop right there.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the sound. I mean, what a word of wisdom in terms of what needs to happen and who we need to talk to, you know, um, in something like COVID or not. Like that's the way you reach out and you do that. And it's just like we're all connected, in so many ways. You mentioned the board's connected, we're connected. LinkedIn's all about being connected.
Yeah.
What's your take on communities? Are you in any communities?
Yeah,
Other
yeah,
fellow
definitely.
marketers rubbing elbows? Like what's your thought?
So that was another thing. Like, there's never been a marketing community out there, and so
Mm.
I am a part of a few communities. So like, I'm a part of Revenue Collective, which has helped me a tremendous amount, because there is a lot of sales and marketing leaders that are in there. I'm also a part of a
But
new
real quick,
huge.
it doesn't feel like a marketing thing because I'm not in it, so I don't know. But
It doesn't, I mean, there's a marketing channel. It's definitely geared more towards sales leaders, but
okay.
it has a marketing side of it, and there is more and more marketers that are joining every single day. But I mean, it's not cheap to join. It's definitely expensive. Luckily Clary picks it up on my side. But another community that I've joined recently, and I was actually one of the founding people that helped bring it all to life, was called Rev Genius. And so there's a ton of big influencers on LinkedIn that have joined it. And so it's about 2 months old, and
Huh.
there's almost 3,500 people in there. Sales, marketing, CS, RevOps, like, and it's free to join, so no issue with that. And it's like they're super inclusive. So maybe you're an SDR fresh out of college, maybe you're a seasoned CMO, like they don't care. Like, everyone's welcome in there, and like even like Scott Lisa's in there, and like there's just so many like famous influences that are on LinkedIn that are adding value, and like they're learning as well, because it's just like it's an awesome place just to connect with others, and like I've been really active in that.
And you're in there, right? So,
Exactly.
right. You mentioned Scott, but it's like you're
Yeah,
in there, other people.
yeah,
I think this is important, especially as we get more and more virtual. We can't
yeah,
always be having happy hours or meetups as much. It's like some kind of group. It's whether it's collective or the Rev Genius. What makes it different? I mean, definitely the cost is different. And what kind of things happen in these groups? Do you have meetings?
yeah.
Do you burn effigies, or how does it work?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of basically webinars around, really interesting things. I was actually just listening to on Revenue Collective a past kind of episode around understanding equity, like stock options, straight talk, and it
Oh
was
wow.
basically like just these executives that have gone through different things, because I was trying to understand it like a bit more, and like anyone can like join and like just listen more about that. And on like Rev Genius side of it, they do a ton of like roundtables. Like, if you want to learn more about like RevOps, if you want to learn more about marketing, specifically like topics around marketing, they hold weekly roundtables, and like you can just join and like jump in on the conversation. And like we just did one last week on ABM. It was huge. Like, people that didn't really have ABM experience, but they wanted to learn. And like
Right.
it's so awesome to be able to be part of a community where if you put a request out there, or like a question, like 30 people reply to you within like a couple of minutes.
Really.
Yeah.
Really, and that's important, and getting good answers too. I was on this like hiking group and I posted a question like, "Hey, what's near this highway and any recommendations?" And two guys linked me to like a book on hiking. was like, not helpful, right? It sounds like this is
No,
the opposite. It's like,
this,
hey, I have a just random question. Maybe it's a dumb question, but I just put it out there and people are like, no, here you go. Here you go. And
yeah,
it's really cool to see in 30, like you're talking about, because normally what happens is like 4 or 5 people do it. And then one of them is really good at it. And then you're like,
right.
okay, that answer, that's fine. That's my answer. But everyone kept putting
Yeah.
experiences and feedback. That's
Yeah,
wild.
and everyone's just willing to help everyone, and it's just like, if we're gonna be virtual for the foreseeable future, like I'm all
Yeah.
in on this because like I'm trying to level up myself. Like I want to be able to get the expertise that like I don't have in like other areas of marketing that will help me further in my career. And like
Right.
there's so many people that are accessible. Like I was just talking to a CMO on there like yesterday, and she was like super like just basically we were just chatting, and she was kind of telling me about like her background and like giving me some advice and feedback. And it's just like people are just there to like help others. It's awesome.
Yeah. In the end, we're all just people,
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
CMO, marketing specialist,
Yeah.
SDR,
Yeah.
VP of sales, we're all just people, man. And we're just,
Exactly.
ideally the one that are trying to learn that are on these communities because they want to keep expanding their minds and thinking about things. So that's really cool to hear. Anything to watch out for? Any groups or anything that doesn't work out well?
No, honestly, I mean, I usually, if there is one of those, like I get out pretty quick. But honestly, the ones that I'm a part of, like I highly recommend them.
That's cool.
To just check them out.
Yeah, I saw they're on your LinkedIn profile and everything, man. So
Yeah,
it's like you're certainly like putting it out there, you're proud of it, and letting people know where they can go to get more information, be connected like you are, and that kind
right.
of thing.
Definitely.
That's sweet. Crazy, man. You know, talk for a second about we got COVID going on, things are changing, things are getting virtual, and this ties into that future idea of what's coming around the bend. But things are like some of the go-to marketing campaigns are just not it. I mean, you have field in your name. Like, are you getting out to the field much, or is it a virtual field now? How are you adapting?
Yeah, so it's definitely virtual, and we've actually made the decision to like stay virtual through like February next year.
Nice.
And so like we're all in, and so like we have definitely different pieces of like the how to thrive in a digital world is like what's important to us, and like so we have different event pieces. So we have like roundtables, which is meant more for like just local people that wanted to get together and try to reconnect that like in-person connection. Videos on, it's just like everyone's just kind of chatting. And then we have more of like the traditional webinar side of it. We have like keynotes. We do a lot with partners. We're doing a webinar with Drift next
Okay.
week, and so like we do some things like that too to just kind of expand that piece of it. And it's just like ABM plays a huge part of it as well, and like launching specific themes and campaigns. um, Gartner just released something about forecasting and kind of visibility within that, and that was a huge campaign for us just because they didn't mention us by name, but we were one of the companies that they mentioned.
Come on, Gardner,
Yeah,
get your shit
yeah,
together.
yeah,
Mention
yeah,
these guys.
yeah. But honestly, it's funny. I'm actually busier now than I was before, and if you think about it, like when there were in-person events that were happening, like you would do like maybe one a month, like
Yeah,
maybe one in
totally.
like,
Yep,
but virtual, like who you do 5 of them a month, do 6 of them a month, like whatever. I mean, it's how
it's
you
true.
burn out quick, but I think webinar fatigue is starting to set in because I can definitely tell that like as things kind of reopen, numbers are starting to drop a little bit. You got to scale back the number of things that you're doing too.
Mm,
But it's important to do, quality over quantity.
yeah, quality over quantity. It's an interesting tug of war, right? Because you're all virtual now. You can do a million. You can do one every
Yeah.
day. That'd
Yep.
be interesting webinar every day for 30 days. It sounds like a weight loss plan, right? Might lose weight too if you do a webinar every day. Uh,
Exactly.
man, but then tug of war though, like quantity, you can do them. They're virtual. They're unlimited. It doesn't
Yeah.
cost you anything.
Right.
How do you balance that yourself?
I think it's just figuring out what the right number is. And so like we've gone through different, like it's funny when we did this back in, I guess April is kind of when we started the whole virtual thing. Like we did 8 of them in April. Then in May we dropped down to, I think it was like 5. And then
Yeah.
this past month, like we did like 3 of them, and like we're starting to like fine tune, and like it's all about content at the end of the day. Like if you find valuable content of it and you realize that like maybe, you know, your peers are also going to be joining this, you're
Mhm.
more likely to join versus, you know, not. And then, you know, tying that into a larger like integrated campaign is also important. And so we've realized, you know, scaling back the number that you do, but not having it impact pipeline is the balance we're trying to find.
Got it. So keep it on the end result, but then
Yeah,
and then scale it back and see if anything's majorly affected. That's interesting.
exactly. Yep.
I like that approach to it. Do you have like a favorite? ABM is kind of fun in that you can like do wild things for a focused group of people. Do you have any favorite reach outs or any favorite like I'll say gimmick, but way to get attention? I mean, you're getting all these at bats for your team. Do you have any? And it's just you and me talking. No one else is here. So, do
Yeah.
you have any cool tricks with that?
So I think, you know, something that's been really cool is like virtual wine, like basically, you know, I don't want to say virtual because it's actual wine, but like just using like wine as like a way to get more people engaged. Or another thing is mixology classes. Like you can get like virtual mixologists to come and like you basically send in a gift card to the people where they could purchase the ingredients themselves. They have to purchase the alcohol, but it's like it's just like a fun thing for them to like split up the day versus like sitting on a webinar all day and really getting nothing out of it. Or maybe, you know, you're purchasing dinner for them as well. And so, you know, a couple of those things definitely make a big difference. And I mean, they can get pricey depending on how many you
Mm-hmm.
do, but if you're really focusing on like your ABM accounts and like, you know, either you're one to one or one to few,
Yeah.
um, like going out a little further on that, it makes a big difference.
It's like an experience that people can
Yeah.
have. Um, do you have an issue? Because I'd love to send everybody one. Everyone listening, I'd love to send you one. I don't know your address. Do you, especially if they're at home versus at work, do you just send it to their office and hope somebody drinks it? Or
No, so surprisingly, people have been pretty open about giving us their home addresses. I don't know if maybe like we're pretty clear about what we're going to send them, and like we do tell them like, hey, we're not going to like basically spam you with a million things after. But like, you know, if someone asked me like, hey, can I get your address? You know, I want you to join this event, and like I'm going to send you this wine and like a little bit of something to go with it. Like, yeah, I'd do it. Like, hey, you told me what you're going to do. And like, what's the worst that can happen?
even now, is that like the first they hear from you? It's like you get
It,
your very first email and it's like, you don't know me. We just met, but I'd love to send you something.
it is. Yeah. And you know,
Wow.
it's people are more receptive. I don't know. Maybe it's because we sell to like revenue leaders. Maybe in another industry would be a little bit different, but it's like
Sure.
revenue, you know, revenue people drink a lot of wine.
Amen. Amen. Isn't that that question on the application for Rev Genius? You know, how many bottles of wine do you partake in?
Exactly.
That's cool though. And people are like, sweet, thank you. Do you tell people they're in your top ABM tier, or do you just treat them like that? And is there
No, we
anything to be gained, like meta being like, hey, you like ABM, we do too. We're coming after you.
no, honestly, we keep it pretty like we don't really tell anyone. We just kind of keep it, you know, hey, you know, you're a top account for us, and like, you know,
Sure.
we're really invested in your success.
Yeah. We talked about you last week on the
Yeah,
ABM call.
exactly.
Man,
They probably deep down know that.
they might. You know, that would be cool though to come to a realization, be like, man, I'm on an ABM campaign right now. Like that'd be fun. You'd be like, yeah, my first one. That's how you know you've made it, people, when you end up on somebody else's ABM campaign.
Exactly.
You know what? Actually, I was gonna say I've never really hit that, but I have. Back in the day, Terminus targeted me, and they got me like a mason jar with my logo on that mason jar,
Nice.
full of like chocolate and vodka and all sorts of stuff. And they're like, come get this present we have for you at a conference. And it was like that. I still talk about it to this day. Like years later, I'll be like 90, be like, remember that day Terminus got me that thing? And right. So it's cool. You feel special when that happens. So I can see how these people are like, I'm sure there might be one out of 80 who's like, no, weirdo, don't send me wine. Like, cool, I'm going to drink your wine. Meanwhile, the other
Exactly.
79 are like actually happy with it.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm still waiting for someone to like put me in their ABM like program. Like I don't get anything. Like if
Well,
you're
what's your
listening,
email
like
address?
yeah, I'll give you my address too.
We'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah.
Anyone that wants to target you,
Yeah.
perfect. They can follow up. It sounds like maybe make your dreams come true today. You know,
Exactly.
everybody gets an ABM campaign. You get one, and you get one, and you get one. Oh man, that's crazy. Well, who are you, dude? Like, how did you come to all this experience and knowledge and wisdom and become such a connector in the LinkedIn community? Can you take us back in time, like little Nick days? What was it like growing up? You know,
Uh,
where was it?
yes. So funny enough, so I grew up in a city right outside of Boston called Waltham. And I played baseball all when I was younger, and I was just like, I was into sports, and like, I wasn't a great student. I'll be honest with you. Like, I was just like,
Same
oh,
here.
baseball's life. Like, that's whatever. And, when I got to high school, it was still important to me. And I was just kind of doing my thing. And I was like, this is, I didn't want to go to college. I was just like, I can just go find a job doing something. And like, I didn't really know, or maybe I'll get drafted to the pros one day.
Right?
And
Yeah.
well, funny enough, because I used to be able to throw about like 89 miles an hour.
Wow.
And
Is there
I
a
was just
threshold you have to hit to be able to like be in the pros, or what does
I,
that mean?
I think if you could throw like mid to high 80s, like it's usually pretty solid. Especially
Really?
being a lefty. Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
you
lefty.
you'll at least
Yeah.
you'll at least get a shot at like a minor league deal. But I ended up getting to college. I went for sport management,
Okay.
which I was just like, I told my parents, I was like, if you're gonna make me go to college, I'm gonna go for sport management and I'm gonna play baseball. And they were like,
Right.
okay, what are you gonna do when you get out? I said, I don't know. Who knows if I'll even make it out? Like, I'm
Right.
just there to play baseball. And so I went, and it was like, it was fun. Like, I learned a lot in college, and like, it was my first time actually kind of like living out on my own. And like, because I've always like lived with my parents, and I was like, oh, this is great, like so many fun experiences. And just like met a ton of awesome people. And got to graduation, and I was like, oh well, guess I really have to think about like what I'm gonna do from here.
Yeah.
Like I didn't make it to the pros. Like, no one offered me a deal. And so I was like, all right, maybe I'm gonna be a big shot agent or like an athletic director.
Okay.
And I got out of school, and I was just like, okay, you can't do any of those things without like more like a larger degree, or like getting in, some type of money invested into it. And I could go sell tickets for the Red Sox making $10 an hour. And I was like, oh, did I really just go to college for that? Like, that's
Right.
that's pretty lame. But I actually went to sales right out of school for basically a local company. I was doing inside sales. It was for a tooling company. And so like, I was taking phone calls all day from like construction workers,
Nice.
basically saying like, I need this drill. I need this drill. Like, they were like rattling off names, and like, I had no clue what they were talking about. I looked it up in a computer, went and got it, and came out and gave it to them. But I was like, oh, this is terrible. Like, I can't imagine like doing this any longer. And I ended up working for a company called Motorola, which is a big, well-known company. And
Sure.
so like, my account was AT&T. And T. And so like, I would go
Mm.
up against the iPhone every year. And so my job was to get these AT&T franchise dealers to purchase our product and try to push it over the iPhone. So like, I was coming up with like spiff programs for them. Like, I was going around like training all of them and like trying to get them to do it. But I mean, it was a battle that was just like impossible to fight, because it's just,
Yeah.
you could never do it. And so I was like, this is okay. And did that for a little bit. And I came across like the field marketing side of it. And so I was like, this is great. Like, I get to do all this fun stuff without a quota hanging over my head, but
Mm-hmm.
like, my program still move the needle. Like, I'm still connected to sales. Like, you're the front lines to the sales team. And like, I've been doing field marketing for about 7 years now for various companies. And like, honestly, I wouldn't change it for the world. Like, it's just so, every day is completely different. Like, it's super fun. Like, sales like takes me out. They buy me things. They're like, oh, you helped with this. Like, this is awesome. And I'm like, I tell them, like, I joke with them all the time. I'm like, where's my commission check? Like, I helped you close this deal. You bought me
Right.
like a nice little bottle of wine, but like, where's that big fat commission check?
Yeah.
um,
Where's the
but
cheddar, man? Where's
yeah,
that?
yeah, exactly. But honestly, like, it's been a really awesome road. And I guess I kind of ended up here by luck. Like, I had no intention of going into anything marketing related out of school. um, but I came here, and I probably won't ever lead marketing now. Although
Wow.
I did have some thoughts of going back to sales at some point for like a technology company, just because I do enjoy sales, and I think as a marketer I can do sales. Um, but
Well, and
yeah,
you did do it too. So we were talking earlier, and we're saying we're talking trash to sales. It's because we've done it. And so it'd be a different story if sales is like, I could do marketing. They've never done it before. You don't know if you could do it.
right.
If they have, great. I feel like people that have done like what you've done, do both. You're way better at both, or whichever one you pick, because you understand there's two sides. You understand what they're like. You played
Exactly.
baseball. Sales is a lot like a baseball team, so it's like, yeah, you totally get it.
Yeah, that's so true. And it's like you walk in their shoes, like you know what they're trying to deal with. And
Right.
like I always tell like newer marketers to like, what could I do to basically like up level myself? And I'm like, you should try like doing sales as well. Like
Mhm.
especially if they haven't done it before. Because I think it's
Yes.
important for every marketer to do sales at some point because it will only benefit you in the long run.
I agree. I agree, man. Just whatever it is. And you're the tooling sales, it doesn't even matter. I mean, I sold tuxedos to bridezillas, like
Nice.
whatever it is, just to get rejected 1,000 times a day, to get some successes and feel the success of some cash in your hand and ringing the bell. Like there's a cool stuff to that culture, but then you understand what's driving your customer. Like you said, sales is my customer. Now you understand them better. I mean, that's the whole point, right? We always talk about doing customer research. Well, sales is your customer. How about doing some customer research on them?
Exactly. Yeah, that's spot
Sick.
on.
Sick. You kind of like you found this thing where it's like an intersection of all of that.
Yeah, and it's funny because I didn't even know it really existed when I was in school. Like I was
Right.
just like, oh, this is great. Like it's, I don't know. Like I wish more people would try it out.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, you'd be a good person for people to talk to, especially out of school or in school, right?
Right.
Because same story here. Like you don't know what you really want to do, and you may or may not use that major. Maybe you do,
Yeah.
maybe you don't. But sometimes it doesn't matter as much as it does the experiences you have. You learn way more, I guarantee, during that sales job, or starting in that marketing realm than you would have like in a textbook.
That's spot on, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Hypothetical for you, and you're nearby. You're in Boston. Are you still in nearby or
Yeah, yep. So I live, yeah, just outside of Boston.
six? Six. So I'm up here in New Hampshire, right? So hypothetical, I may have a time machine in my backyard covered with a tarp. Squirrels are trying to get at it right now, but um, squirrels are nasty, man. They're just all over the place. But
Evil.
I digress. I have this time machine, maybe, and you can use it, and you go back in time, but it has a set time it brings you to. It brings you to like the day after you graduated college, right? Or a couple days after, something around there, start of your career kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, what kind of advice would you give yourself? You get to meet yourself maybe a couple days after in case you partied a little hard. Yeah, you get to
Yeah.
you get to see yourself like what kind of things would you tell yourself to do more of, less of, that kind of stuff.
So I think the big thing that like I wish everyone would do is networking. Like get on LinkedIn, like build your personal brand because and I only started doing this a couple months ago, but like I think back, like what if I did this when I was in college, or what if they even offered a class around this? Like how much it would benefit people as they go into the real world. Like they would grow by leaps and bounds and like make everything so much better. And it's like I just wish that like people would, instead of being invisible on LinkedIn, truly build their own brand, like provide content. Like you don't have to do it every day, but like if you're consistent with it, that's all that can matter, because then it's going to open opportunities for you that you'll never have before. And like I can personally say that like just from posting regular content on LinkedIn, like I've had so many people, like I've had like CMOs, CEOs, like, and even like people in school just reach out to me and just like talk to me about things. Like I would never have had those conversations before if it wasn't from doing that. And like networking is an incredible tool that like everyone should take advantage of and maximize.
100%, dude. It's like one of those things that I've tried to tell people, you use it when you don't need it, right? Build that brand. Okay,
Yeah.
you're in school. You don't even care, but that's a perfect time.
Yep.
It's the people that like try, like, oh, I really need a job. Let me build this thing. It's like, well, now you're trying to get stuff from people as you're connecting. But if you're just connecting to people, you want to learn from them or follow them or whatnot, just kind of build your base and your brain and people you've worked with. I mean, adding everyone you do an internship with,
Yeah.
everyone that you come in contact with, saying hi, and just creating a little thing. You're right. Like that would be epic if you started that even a year. It's almost like investing, right? If you started it like a year earlier, you'd have that many more people on there.
Exactly. And just like, I guarantee you that not a lot of people are doing that. And like, if you're fresh out of school, it's like, you're already ahead of everyone else. Like when recruiters take notice and like you're looking for a job, they're gonna be like, oh, like I came across this person. Like they provide, pretty interesting like stuff out there. Like maybe I should give them an interview versus someone else.
Right. Right. I've often heard it said, I think Dan Sullivan says this, that a lot of people are competing for your attention, but no one is competing in giving attention, right? So
Yeah.
if you're looking to learn from someone, giving them the attention, like say, teach me, right? No one's bothered by that. No, you're not competing with anyone. No one's doing that. So if you do that, they're like, oh, happy to. I just literally talked to someone this morning who wanted to pay for some business coach or whatnot. I was like, no, I'm happy to meet with you, man. Like let's just chat and we can talk through some of the challenges you're facing and build your business. Let's do it. As opposed, you never know. Just reaching out to people is just a way to do it. So no,
that's
big.
that's so true, because it's just like if you really reached out to people on like LinkedIn, that people that you wanted to learn from, and like just ask them a simple question of like, hey, I'm just trying to learn more, I'm fresh out of school or like early on in my career, you'd be surprised at how many people would actually give you free advice.
Right. 100%. Because we're so tired of getting the LinkedIn spammers. I'm happy to. Oh my gosh, you're real? Wait,
Yeah.
is this followed up with thanks for the advice. Now here's my app? Or you really just
Exactly.
want my advice,
Yeah.
I got someone's name wrong the other day and I was like, "Oh, no." I was like, "This isn't spam, I promise." But I was like, "Oh, I'm so screwed. It looks like I just like spammed them and got the name wrong."
Oh man.
But you mentioned the all the people you're chatting with having these conversations. You ever thought of doing a podcast?
Honestly, like I have a 2-year old, and like it's just it would be
2-year-old's tough, man.
yeah, it would be so time consuming. And then I still play baseball too, and it's just like between work and everything else, like it's just like just being able to focus on my regular job is
Yeah.
enough.
Oh, for sure. Especially if you're still playing ball. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Um, Man, do they make you wear masks on the field or how does that work?
Yeah, so it's actually been pretty good. Like I think we're about 4 weeks in now, and so like you do have to wear masks when you're up at bat. You have to wear masks when you're in the dugouts. But when you're in the field itself, unless you're at first base, you don't have to. And I mean, everyone's been pretty compliant. Like
That's
we've,
cool.
knock on wood, like haven't really had any issues since everything kind of reopened, and like everyone's just happy to be out there again.
Yeah, you just because that it would like kind of ripple through the team and then you're all out.
Yeah,
Wasn't there like a Florida team that
yeah,
who
the
was
the
that?
Miami Marlins. Yeah, it's
The
just
Marlins. What
yeah.
happened? Did they all get it?
Yeah,
For
so
a
there
game
was,
or
I think there was about 18 of them that ended up doing it. And it's just like, I mean, that's what happens. Like they went
Mhm.
out to, they went out to outside of the hotel, and like they weren't really supposed to. It was discouraged, but like it wasn't like a hard no. And like, look, they could ruin baseball for everyone just from like, kind of doing their own thing. And like I think
Yeah.
now other teams are starting to realize that.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Sports it's a tough to figure out what goes down this year.
Yeah.
Um, what do you think if you crystal ball? And
So
what do you think about as a player, what do you think about having the stands full of like little paper faces or no fans at all?
So the no fans doesn't bother me. I would prefer no fans versus like the little faces, or even like
They
sometimes
just creep
what
you out.
Fox exactly. You know what Fox does, like on their television broadcast, they actually put like virtual people in there, so it looks like the stadium's completely full, and it's like they're pumping in like music. Like I don't care. Like I actually like it better because I can hear the players what they're saying. Like they're dropping f bombs. Like
Oh, that's a good
they're
point.
basically talking trash, and like it's super interesting to see. Like I could care less if there was fans there, but I mean, it seems like the sports that are in a bubble, like soccer and NBA and NHL, like they're doing fine because they're in a bubble, like everything's restricted. MLB, me and my friends were just saying the other day, like we have an over under, like the season's going to end by August 15th. Like there's no something's going to happen. Like they're just going to pack it in, and like I have no clue how the NFL is going to happen, but
Yeah, NFL and it's tough with like because I would even give more thought to at least baseball, you're spread out. I know not in the dugout, but like
Right.
you're doing your own thing.
Yep.
But like football, and not only that, but when it's a contact sport, not so much the contact and getting something. It's hard. And it's dangerous, and you can get
Yeah.
hurt. Like if you got a cold and you're not like on top of your game, it's one thing if you like miss the ball or like you strike out, but
Right.
something if you got somebody like running at you and they just like put you on your ass because you weren't paying attention because you got a cold or you got COVID or something,
Exactly.
man. It's like
Exactly.
dangerous. Like a fighting sport or something.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'm just happy that sports are back somewhat now.
Somewhat. I mean, it's kind of like you take whatever you can get at this point, right?
Exactly. After not having it for so long, I mean, it's like, but this goes to show why we can't have nice things. It gets taken away at some point.
Right? You and your brother go to your rooms. You can't have nice things, man.
Yeah.
That's funny. You got anything? You got any virtual events coming up? Anything planned? Anything going on?
Yeah, so I mean, we've got a couple of virtual events. We've been trying to like do, we have like a couple roundtables a month that we do around different topics, and we're
Cool.
doing actually one next week around like strategies around revenue pre and post COVID, how kind of revenue leaders, and we actually have a couple. We have a sales leader from OutSystems, someone from Zoom, and someone from TPG Capital, which is a private equity firm, and like just to be able to have them talk about like their experiences of like what
Yeah.
they're seeing. Like we try to make these more thought leadership versus like a Clary pitch.
Right. Yeah. Totally. That's exactly the way to go.
Yeah,
You put it out there, trying to help people, and they'll
exactly.
recognize the source. They'll come
Yep.
back to the source for sure.
Yeah.
For sure, man. Hey, where can people connect with you? What's a good place to reach out? And
Yeah, so definitely LinkedIn is probably the best way. I try to respond to everyone that does send me a note,
yeah,
and I've been pretty good about doing that. But definitely look into joining Rev Genius and
yeah,
Revenue Collective as well. I'm pretty active in definitely the Rev Genius community. You can always find me on there. Shoot me a Slack note. Join some of the marketing roundtables, and yeah, I think those are the best places to probably find me and at least connect with me.
that's sick. That's sick. And if you're not there, then you're on a field somewhere,
Exactly.
getting it going. What base do you play, or
So,
what
so,
position?
so I'm a lefty pitcher. Yes, I still pitch,
Oh,
and,
you're
and
right, pitcher. Right, right. I knew.
yeah, and so it's fun, but it's been so hot this summer that I'm just like, oh man. Then like wearing a mask, you feel like you're gonna pass out.
Yeah, and I hear you. Especially when it restricts that breathing. You're just like,
Yeah,
and you got the sun on you. It's hot enough, anyways. Add
exactly.
that to the mix, man. So hopefully that's done soon. But damn. Hey, this is great, man. This has been fun just hanging out, chit-chatting, talking shop, talking baseball. Appreciate you coming on here.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you having me. This was fantastic. I love learning, learning from you as well as being
Yeah.
able to talk more about things that I've experienced.
Well, I feel like we just hit the start button, honestly. I don't know if either I'm sick or I just had a great time in this conversation and I was just like, oh, look at that. That was pretty cool. But to your point,
Likewise.
I learned a bunch from you today. And to those people listening, if you learned something, and I know you did, share this because I got 2 pages of notes over here, front and back. If you learned something, share this episode with someone else. And as you learned today, one of the great places to do that is LinkedIn. And Nick, I've been saying this, and tell me if this is right or wrong. What I'd like to tell people is like, don't just share it, but pull what you learned, right? Put some takeaways in the top, and then tag me. We'll hop in, have a conversation, engage, that kind of thing. Any other advice for people around LinkedIn?
Yeah, no, definitely, put the comment out there, put your spin on things, and just
Yeah,
like you said, put your key takeaways there and tag the people that are relevant, because if you tag me on something, I'll definitely comment on it. Like I'm all about the engagement and like giving back as well as
yeah.
trying to like learn from others too. So
Boom, there it is. I'm not just full of it. See, this is the way to do it. This is the master class right here, man. This is great. Man, I'll have to have you come back on and see what baseball is like a couple months from now, and just check in and that kind of thing.
Definitely. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, for those listening, this has been the Hardcore Marketing Show. We will catch you all next time.